Good morning, Commanders. Hope we're all doing very well today. Wanted to put out a quick video here, try not to keep this too long, that I'm hoping is going to be helpful to you out there either now or in the near future when you are able to unlock the new Enterprise for hitting the Xindi Hostiles, the NX-01. Kind of an introductory video of sorts for crewing. I watched Rev's video recently, and he had some good points in there, had some helpful information. I actually listened as long as I could before I had some stuff come up to his live stream where he was given some tokens by Scopely and was able to do some testing. So I want to kind of go over some of that in a way, but I'm hoping to take a little different of an approach. I want to talk specifically about the hostiles, the aquatic hostiles that you will be hitting. Mentioned them a little bit in previous videos, but I want to go in a little bit more depth so you can hopefully craft your own crews for this ship and for these hostiles. So before we jump into it, if you are new or if you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. It's super helpful to help grow the channel and helps me out a lot. We're over 900 subscribers. Thankful to everyone who has subscribed. Goal of 1,000, so we're getting really close. So appreciate it. Also hit that thumbs up, like button if it's helpful, and then also hit that bell notification so you can be kept aware of future content as it comes out. Okay, so let's hop over to STFC.space, and I want to briefly talk about the firing pattern that we're looking at here. For those who don't know, I've mentioned this in a couple of, I think, videos, but you have, when you go to these systems, which let me actually hop back into the game, and in case you are watching this at a much later date, you haven't done much with this loop, I don't know, hopefully you have. I know it can be frustrating, I really do. Tried to help out players who are in tough spots, like in the 40 to 42 range, and it's frustrating. So here's the space, is this kind of purple area just to the west of the Enterprise lower part here. So where you start, you have the main systems, like you start here, that's where Scopely wants you to start. Some people have had to hit in the 34s, but working your way through here. But these token systems are where you hit the new hostiles, the aquatic hostiles for this month. Okay, so what are the aquatic hostiles? Well, when you go in there, there's going to be two types. There's going to be the interceptors and the battleships. The battleships have 10 times the loot, but they have quite a risky, it seems like there's this gambling theme this month. From your turn-ins, there's a risky or a safe bet. Anyways, the ability of the ship, for those who haven't seen it, is to reduce the shots of these aquatic hostiles by 9. So if you take a regular ship in, you're going to kind of get obliterated. I had one user or one commenter on one of my YouTube videos that commented they use a G4 rare. I'd love to see that battle log, because that's crazy. I don't know how you could do that without the Enterprise. You just get pounded by all these weapons. The big one that hurts is at the start of combat. This hostile, remember, this is the battleship, 10 times the rewards. It has a 30% chance to fire its heavy artillery on the fifth weapon of each round. So the fifth weapon is down here below, weapon 5, 10 billion damage. Now, you may have an officer on board and mitigation that will help lower that, but you're not going to survive that shot. I think my Enterprise is like a 17 million hull right now, and since their weapons ignore shields, it's going straight to your hull. So, yeah, that's going to be painful. So you take the risk of having a go-home cannon, just send your ship home, or getting 10% of the loot. So some people have been hitting just the interceptors and then hitting 1 or 2 of these at the end when their hull is really low. That's up to you. It does seem like there's a pretty significant risk with hitting these or trying to hit these, so keep that in mind. I want to talk mainly about the interceptors. This you can look at it right here. We've got, and I'll just briefly touch on this before I hop over to the interceptor. We've got 1, 2, 3 kinetics, 4 kinetics, sorry, and then these 2 energy weapons. This last one, weapon 6. Let's see, I believe that is this one right here. Yeah, Xindi might, at the end of every round, the ship fires 9 shots from its super weapon. So that is also a go-hum cannon. It doesn't affect you if you have the Enterprise because the NX-01 because the shots are reduced from 9 to 0. So if you have the NX-01, you won't have to worry about this one. You'll have to worry about the weapon 5 with that 30% chance. But then you have significant damage from these others, from the kinetics. This one here, weapon 4, is only going to hit in that first round, but it's a kinetic weapon. And the interceptor kind of has a similar weapon, even though it's energy. So these are kinetic. So if you were hitting these, you're going to need someone like, most likely to reduce damage. Talon or Kath are great for reducing kinetic weapon damage. So if you're hitting the battleships, those are good options. Let's hop over here, look into Interceptor. So we look at their ability here. It also has a Xindi Might. And that's that last weapon, the weapon 6. You have 1, 2, 3 kinetics and 2 energy. So if we scroll down here, you've got this kinetic that does around 300,000 damage. Then you're going to have a little bit less, around 250, 260. The next kinetic is 170. And then you have 2 energy weapons. This one here about 130, and then this one is about 1,000,000, but it's going to also have this 100% chance to crit. And so it's going to crit every single time it's energy weapon. And as you'll see in a battle log in a second here, it looks like you're going to want to have someone to help you with that energy damage, because this is where the bulk of your damage is going to come for the whole round. Okay, so let's talk about that. Feel free to hop into STFC.space. It's a great resource, has a great information here. So when we're crafting or suggesting crews, I would suggest, okay, let's look at these interceptors. This is where you're going to get the bulk of your loot drops is going to be from hitting the interceptors. And then it'll be up to you if you decide you want to craft a crew that's going to help you hit the battleships as well. That's going to be completely up to you. Oh, and by the way, I am doing crew testing, but since I'm not high on Scopely's on the totem pole there, I don't have, tons of, I only get 1 token a day. And so I'm slowly just doing some testing each day. I'm going to send a crew and do some testing. So I'll reveal that in another video once I'm able to do, 3 or 4 different ones. So yeah, I will definitely be doing that. So let me hop into the game real quick. And let's see here. If I go to my, whoops, oh, that's exactly what I want actually. Okay, so this morning I woke up and I just hit a bunch of these hostels. And let's look at 1 or 2 of them. And they will have random drops here for the loot, which is great. So what I did this morning was I just wanted to see what was a loot crew. What would a loot crew look like? But I wanted to have Chen for that reduction in the energy damage that's coming in from especially that big gun that fires off in that first round, that weapon 5 that does the crit. 100% chance. So let's look at the battle log real quick and we can see. So in this first one, it's doing 211,000 damage. Let's hop back over here. And so I think that's because Chen is reducing the damage, right? So it takes that about 300,000 down quite a bit. Okay, so we're reducing the damage. There's another kinetic. So we've got 122, 53, and it goes down until you have this big energy weapon. So 4.3 million damage critical. Once again, it's a Xindi, so it doesn't hit my shields at all. We mitigate 2.7 of it, which leaves 1.5 million that goes straight to my hull. So compared to like 20,000, 40,000, 60,000, it's almost like when you're hitting the interceptors that you really need to crew for this energy weapon. If I didn't have Chen, I would have taken quite a bit more damage there. And then we just have the regular weapons, because if we look here, there's a 70,000 hull, 63, 43. It's interesting if you look at it. Now, I will tell you that you will get more loot with the NX-01, as far as, I shouldn't say loot, more credits. And I've been able to unlock, I unlocked some of the other favors, so maybe I shouldn't have done that. But like the loot favors and the repair favors for the NX-01, but I'm going to try and do the crit floor next. I've been able, although having said that, I've been able to unlock level 4 of the crit floor. So one more, and then we'll be able to see how well the crits do. But right now, my crits, you see 5.6 here compared to a regular shot of 8.2, do much less damage than it probably could be if I could just get that stinking crit floor maxed. So I have to say that it's like 6,000 something for 6,000 something rare credits for the 5th level. So still working on that. Anyways, as we go down here, 19,000 hull damage, and then charges weapon to 1 point whatever percent. So this is the weapon that only fires in that first round right here. And as you can see, it has a cooldown of 100 rounds. So it's only going to fire once. But it does a lot of damage. So that, in my opinion, is what you want to be crewing for, is to watch out for that. So let's talk about crews a little bit here. I'll repair my ship real quick so we can see that. And I'll just throw some crews on there for some of my initial thoughts that you may want to consider. So yesterday, just to kind of get an idea here, this is probably a good crew here, because your effective Pike Moreau is going to really significantly increase the amount of damage reduction that you get from Chen for that energy weapon. Something I also, and this is a standard crew that people have used for ages and ages. Something else that you could try, you won't have the same effect because of the synergy here that affects and helps Pike's ability to really boost up Chen's ability. But you could also try, and I threw this in my testing, and I'll reveal the results once again once I'm done. But you could try throwing Kath on there, so you'll lose a little bit of the synergy there with Pike, but Kath is also going to, based upon the level of your Kath, reduce... Oh, what am I thinking? That's right. Okay, so I tested this just because I knew there was kinetic weapons as well as energy weapons initially. So I'll have that in my crew testing. It may not be as impactful, but something just to keep in mind, because if you have Kath on there, then if you plan to hit the battleships, you'll have someone that will help reduce the kinetic damage that you get from the battleships as well. So that's the benefit of this crew. You could also swap out Pike, and you could put 5 of 11 in there. And 511, you'll get the extra loot drops. Mine's a tier 4, so that's 80%. But then you also get some mitigation, help with the incoming damage coming from 5 of 11. So that's something that could be worth trying. What's another crew? So I showed you the loot crew. So once again, Picard, Data, and Chen. You could also do Picard, Data, and 5 of 11 on the side here. I'll just swap them around so you can see that. So you're not going to, because 511's on the side here in the officer seat, you're not going to get the mitigation as if 511 was captain, but you're going to go for loot. So it just depends. And if you have enough stats down here that you can put maybe Tom Paris down below, that could be helpful as well. What's another crew? And obviously, the more you tear it up, the more slots you have below deck, that you can be a little bit more flexible with adding a mitigation officer and whatnot below decks, or maybe the doctor to increase loot even more. If you have him unlocked, and once again, I'm just throwing out some options here for the various different type of players that we might have here. What's another one? So this is another one I want to test. Let's see here. So you could go with Strange New World Spock, King, and either 5 of 11 or Chen. So Strange New World Spock, since if you're going to be hitting interceptors, and this one is mainly geared toward the interceptors, if you're just going to hit them and not going to risk it, and you're hitting interceptors, then Spock, as captain, he's going to decrease the critical chance by 15%, and he's also going to increase your deflection, dodge, and all your mitigation by a significant percentage. So he could significantly help with reducing some damage that's coming in. King, he's going to increase the accuracy. Now on these interceptors, if we hop back over to STFC.space, like most interceptors, you look at their defense, and their dodge is where they're getting all their mitigation from. So if you have King on your ship, then he's going to increase your accuracy, which will help so you can get more straight to their hull. If we look at, if we go back to the battle log, so you want to reduce this mitigation number right here. So when I shoot this 7.6 million, 7.6 million, and then we have this isolytic as well, but this standard damage is not going to mitigate any of the isolytic, but just talking about the standard damage, you want to be able to have this number be reduced as much as possible. So if you have more accuracy, the hostile's not going to be able to stop as much, mitigate or stop as much damage, and more is going to go to the shield health, and then to the hull health. Ultimately, we're trying to get as much past this mitigation to get as much as possible to the hull health. So having King could be an option to having more go to the hull, which means you'll have less rounds, it will have less shots, and hence you'll take less damage. You could also put King in the captain's chair. Let's go back to officers. We put King in the captain's chair. At the start of battle, he has an 80% chance of dealing hull breach. That's going to be most effective if you have maxed your critical floor. Anytime you do a hull breach, that's basically going to increase your critical damage. But you may not be getting, in my opinion, much from the 15% reduction with Strange New World's Spock's captain ability. But you might get a little bit more damage out of your hull breach doing your critical. Once again, this is going to be dependent upon how much you have that favor maxed or near maxed. And once again, do you leave 5 of 11 there, or do you put someone like Chen there so that you survive more rounds? So that's going to be all dependent upon your level. I mean, if you only have like a tier 1, maybe that's not as helpful to you. So it's going to depend upon your crews and how you want to manage that. So hopefully this video has been helpful. Once again, the intention here is not to say this is the one crew that you use, because our crews are going to be different. Our research is going to be different. Our favors are going to be different. Certainly the favors here are very impactful, especially with that critical floor and the other necessary ones like the beam delay for those who haven't gotten started on this loop yet. And the loop drops from the Xindi is going to be super helpful. So you'll have to look at your crews, but hopefully with an understanding, hopefully a better understanding now of how the hostiles work, looking at their firing pattern, looking at the difference between the kinetic and the energy weapons, really watching out for that one big energy weapon that fires in that first round on these interceptors. Hopefully you can have a look at your crews and try and say to yourself, okay, here's the crews that I have, and here's what I need to watch out for. What do I want to try to get the most loot possible because I only have one trip per day? It's probably also recommended, in my opinion, to go after that refit as much as possible so that you can get that second token. Having the pick Q to help with healing your ship will be nice, but I think that extra run per day is going to be really significant to help you get more of those turn-ins so you can level your ship faster. So hopefully this is helpful. Leave your comments below. Feel free to join the Discord. I'll put a link in the description below where you can join the community and ask questions. And I will be doing, as I mentioned, a number of my videos. I do monthly giveaways there for a $20 battle pass. So just my little thank you to the community for helping me grow this thing and really just helping me with video ideas and things you're struggling with. Really help me to be the most helpful I can be. So anyways, hopefully this is helpful and we'll talk to you next time.